It's not a biopic, but number one, I mean, I hate that word for this kind of a movie.
मैं लेकर आऊंगा.
And sometimes they say, the story chooses you.
No, sir, I will not abandon my deck. My gun is still working.
You can argue that Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif, there is a love thing going on, but it's not really a romantic kind of interlude that they have at any point.
I mean, this film has a lot of firsts for me, so I don't mind that. As per the storyboard, we've got some 90 shots, Yeah, but after third day, maybe about 36 we have taken. That's it. And how do we put it together and all that? I hate that smoking disclaimer and all that comes in my movie.
I can imagine because you're in a room that's filled with cigarette smoke. So that's there is this question underneath is that one soldier's life more valuable than the other soldier's life.
From if I take Malayalam and this, there are many films that have done that to me. I said, wow, it's over. And like, you want to tell people, let's just watch this kind of a thing.
Right.
So they have to give a NOC, okay, this movie can go kind of thing. The good thing about my story is, it's a story that can happen in any war zone, It is not... At that time, actually, it was Varun Dhawan who was going to do it. And somewhere...
Mritu towels from Ramraj, premium cotton and bamboo towels. Super soft, super absorbent.
Darling Solar 20500 முன்பணத்தில் இப்பொழுது சோலார் மூலம் இலவச மின்சாரம்.
அதான் Mr. Gold. தரத்திலையும் அளவிலையும் no compromise. Mr. Gold 100% கடல் எண்ணெய்.
Hi Sriram Raghavan.
Hi Baradwaj, good to see you again.
Good to see you again. I don't know if people are able to see this whiteboard right on this side, and it says 25th December. There's this writing saying Christmas ab aur meri ho gayi hai.
That's a line from Merry Christmas, yeah. That's written by my associate. Balam.
So that's your release date for Ikkis.
Yeah.
So I'm going to begin with the most obvious question, which is like, why is Sriram Raghavan doing this war movie? Not that you shouldn't, right? It's not that. But one sees you, look at your t-shirt, 400 blows. One associates you with a certain kind of pulpy sensibility, right? Masala, Vijay Anand, James Hadley Chase, that's your thing, which you've been putting out so far, these French noir kind of twists. So suddenly when the announcement comes that Sriram Raghavan is doing a biopic, a war biopic of, this soldier that died at the age of 21, hence the title Ikkis. You're like, what?
Yeah, why am I doing it?
Why are you doing this?
Obviously... Yeah. See, in fact, I got into the story even before Andazun had released, So I was just sitting there. I was sitting in the producer's office. We were working out ideas for Badlapur 2. And unfortunately, all the ideas were either warped or too influenced by, foreign thrillers and so on. And I was feeling like, why am I doing this? And am I going to ruin the part 1 by making a part 2, kind of a thing. So at that time, Bini Padda, who's the co-producer of the film, he was talking to my producer about this film, He was talking about the story actually. And I was sitting there and I was listening to it and I said, who's doing this, And they said, nobody's attached so far. It's just a story right now. We have to take the rights and there's so much work and everything. So I said, then suddenly Dino asked me, do you want to do it? So I said, Dinesh Vijan, yeah. So I said, give me 5-10 minutes and I went out, stood for some time. I said, it's a daunting thing and why? Like the same question you're asking me, I was asking myself, okay, why am I doing this? But of course, it's a story that really attracted me to it. And there's much more to the story than, it's not a biopic, but number one, I hate that word for this kind of a movie because, it's a drama actually. It's a war drama. It's not even an action film, though there is kind of a considerable action, all that. But it's a war drama and what attracted me was the core story, which was, I think, absolutely worth telling. And sometimes they say, the story chooses you. There's one of those cases. If I had not been there in that room, it would have been done by maybe Amar Kaushik. He was really keen on doing it.
The general war drama, very few people have managed to crack something that makes it look different. For example, Spielberg, in Saving Private Ryan, he said, I'm going to show something that you haven't seen before, right? Sandwich the drama between two major war scenes, one that begins and one that ends the movie, right? So the thing is, but then very few people have managed to say something, though there have been lots of war dramas, but war dramas are kind of a genre. It's like the courtroom thriller or something like that, where there are set beats that need to be followed. So can I ask you if you followed those certain beats that were inevitable?
I don't think so, because our story is, number one, set in two timelines.
Okay.
So there is a story which is set in 1971, which is the story, the journey of a boy becoming a man. You know, Arun Khetarpal, actually, his 21st birthday was on October 14th. He died on December 16th. So he was barely 21. He had not even finished his training course and so on. But he had that eagerness to be part of the sort of the battle, so to say. So whatever he did in his, for which he was awarded the Paramveer Chakra, happened in the last 1 hour of his life. So in the sense, am I a hero? Are you a hero? Till something puts you in a situation which makes you react like in a manner which most people would say, I would rather not. So kind of a thing. So that is one story, and the other story is about his father, who 30 years later visits Pakistan and finds out a few things. And it is this drama that is sort of interesting. So it's actually two journeys, father's journey into the past and son's journey to becoming a boy's journey to becoming a man.
Yeah. So that's really how you wanted. That's what made the difference for you.
I mean, that it had a lot of scope for a proper drama, and I am very. I mean, I don't know, people may not have watched those films like Bridge on the River Kwai and, of course, Saving Private Ryan. It's far more recent, but I like these films, even though I don't like war per se, but there are certain war films I really like, and so when I started embarking on this project, even the writing and all that, so I decided to watch a whole lot of films, including, of course, Hakikat I had seen, but I just watched it again. And a whole lot of Russian war films. They make practically 3 or 4 every year. And there are some classics which we had seen in the Institute, Ballad of a Soldier, Planes Are Flying. And these are beautiful films. Are they war films? Yeah, any good war film is actually an anti-war film. In that sense, these films touch you, they thrill you, but they also touch you, and eventually you leave with something more than what you came in with.
Yeah. So when you heard that meeting that happened where Dinesh Vijan said, "Do you want to do this?" At that point, what was the one line or the narrative that you heard?
This is the story of a boy who did something spectacular in the 71 war in one section, one part of the Western front, and his father's journey to Pakistan after 30 years.
So the whole thing was there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
this was there. It was actually if you say it's like a back of a DVD, it would be these things, So then we had to flesh it out. It's a true story. So I had to meet a whole lot of people. I met Arun's tank mates, those who survived in his tank. There were 4 of them in the tank. 2 died, including Arun, and 2 survived.
Okay.
So I went and met them, met some other people who were actually part of the war, met his classmates at NDA and so on. So it was a sort of each time I started, so it's a film which is so daunting when it began. So it's like brick by brick, you just do a little bit, you do a little bit. It took us time also, in a sense, because of COVID, we had a lot of time to better our script, improve our script and so on.
So when did it begin?
The shoot began in October 23, 2023. And it ended, about a few months back. Now,
right, but the planning, production,
we began actually after Andhadhun released. I had started working on this. So I did some research and interviews and all that. Then we had also sort of worked out what kind of action we do, who would be doing it. We met various action directors and all that, all the prep, and then COVID happened. And at that time, actually, it was Varun Dhawan who was going to do it. And somewhere I felt later that, the film is called Ikkis. I want actually a 21-year-old boy, So I met him, I told him, this is how it is. And there were a couple of other good roles, but I said, I won't hassle you by offering those to you. So we'll do something else. So he also understood, and he's now in Border playing another war film, another war hero.
So, given your background, right, it's varied. You've done this very apartment set movie, which is Merry Christmas, largely, that is.
Yeah.
You've also done Badlapur, which kind of, is a different kind of, it's a wider scope kind of movie. What are the challenges in making this particular movie? Because when I saw I don't know whether to call it a teaser or a trailer recently when I went to see Dhurandhar, I think, or some other movie. There was, it was like there's this missile coming and going in and out of a hole in the tank and things like that and all that support. So what were the things that that you faced that you'd never faced before?
Everything. I mean, it's like everything was daunting because number one, we wanted to be a. See, I have not done much. I mean, I've done VFX, but much, much less. You know, this film required extensive VFX work, and I had to sort of get into an area which I'm not really familiar with. Then the tanks that we have used in the film don't really exist. I mean, in any working condition. So you can see them from outside, and it's just they are like kept as museum pieces kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So we had to fabricate certain tanks, and so we actually had to make tanks, see if they run. So there's a lot of trial and error that happened. So even though we've shot, I mean, we've not shot like 200 days and all that. We shot barely 80 days, I think.
Okay.
Not even 80, but it was over a period of time because some things we were in our control, some things were weather dependent, landscape dependent, and tank dependent. You know, whether will the tank travel in this thing? You know, so we did have some mishaps. Like mishaps, matlab, we made a tank. We were all damn thrilled with it, the way it looked, and when it started moving, we realized it takes 1 kilometer to make a turn, so you can't use it. So it's like that.
Right. So
there were a lot of
there's a lot of learnings on the film, right?
Yeah.
But when you tell me about day one of the shoot, what was that?
So day one of the shoot was the 2001 section of the movie.
Okay, so
I wanted to begin with Dharamji's scenes, some of his scenes. So we shot some of his scenes there, him and Jaideep. So of course, the rest of the cast came and met Dharamji and so on. So we began with that.
Okay.
And we actually began the war section much later. You know, I mean, I think last year, September, October, we began the war section.
Okay.
And so that we had enough time. And before that, we did as much of the drama as possible. There's also a largest section in the NDA where Arun studied, and so we also shot there. And each of these places are working institutions. So you can't just go and occupy, and the film shoot is like another stupid army that comes and takes over, you know.
Yeah.
So we had to wait till they have their breaks and so on. So all these took time and planning. So it was that sense, we have had 3 production designers of the movie because it took so much time. And so.
Was there any, like as the film went along, when you entered the film, obviously you liked what you heard and you entered the film, but at any point did you kind of wonder, what am I doing with this material? Did that come across?
Yeah. It came across. I came across that sort of feeling couple of times. Am I doing the right thing? Should I, and all that. Then there was one line by Clint Eastwood, he said, sometimes in the middle of a movie you wonder, what am I doing? And then you just say, to hell with it, get on with it. So that sort of kept me going.
Okay. So, what is it about Hakikat? You mentioned Hakikat, right? That, because there is a kind of a pretty recent movie called 120 Bahadur that revisits the same event, right? But let's go back to Hakikat. I don't want to call it old-fashioned, which kind of makes it seem like a thing, but it's from an older time where you, along with this, you have Priya Rajvansh singing a song and Zara Si Aahat Hoti Hai, and then you have them singing, and all that kind of, it's a very different kind of, differently paced movie also.
Right.
But you're able to watch it today. What is it that draws you to that kind of movie?
No, I find it actually, I think, the best war film made here. In the sense it seems it's largely in the characters and also it's a sort of a war we didn't, something we lost. And so I don't know, for me, this film speaks to me a lot. And plus it's got some very fine actors, So I can just watch it, like you said, the music, my Badan Bhavan is outstanding actually.
Yeah.
So in fact, it's a template for many movies. The thing is, they did it sort of right, and later on it can become a template. We can say, okay, we must have this, we must have a patriotic song, we must have a letters song, and all these things happen. They all are, those are all the givens of a war film.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at Chetananand's career, he's reinvented many genres. For example, I think practically almost like a decade after Hakikat, he makes Heer Ranjha. Was it Heer Ranjha or Laila Majnun? I forget. But Priya Rajvansh and Rajkumar.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and the entire movie is in verse. It's in verse, and it's like people are talking in couplets, and that's a trip on its own. And so everything of his has a certain. I think
he was the most intellectual of the 3 Anands, in the sense, all of them were flamboyant, but he had a certain, okay, let me try something different.
Is that something that you also do, which is like, how do I take this material and make it a little different? Because regardless of what you do, there are going to be familiar beats, right? See, that doesn't happen with Merry Christmas because the entire thing is like a puzzle,
Right.
right? So even though we may have seen noirish mind game movies, but that's too broad an umbrella. So then that's not a big. But when you say a guy, like a brave kid, enrolls in NDA, dies, or when you say you go to Pakistan, find out certain things, there are going to be some things that are already familiar beats, is what I'm trying to say. How did you go about with a writer and say, let's break this cliche, let's break this cliche, let's break this cliche? How did that happen?
No, that's actually, we spoke a lot about this, exactly what you're saying, that, how do we avoid the traps of the usual war movie. And my writer, I mean, I have two writers with me in this. Pooja is one of the writers, and Arijit. Arijit is actually a war film lover, So he was really, he had a whole lot of extra reading and sort of thing about war movies, which I didn't have. And I used to have my own, okay, have you watched this Russian movie? And so, and my associate Malang, we used to just sit and, I mean, I think we have watched probably some 100 films, from all over the world, and just to see what worked for us, what didn't work for us, and so on. So then you try your best to, there's going to be love interest. Now, how do you make it just not there for the sake of it? How do you make it something which you remember after the film is over? And these are things we keep striving to, make it unique, if not different. And yeah, sometimes I think we have succeeded. Then rest you have to tell me.
This is your first love interest in a movie, if I'm not mistaken.
No, every film has got some love interest, but this one has got a, in the sense, young chap. He's going to, I mean, at 19, 20, 21, you're going to be, you're going to fall in love.
Right. No, but I'm saying, I'm trying to think of your films, and I don't think any film has actually had a love song like that or whatever it is. You can argue that Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina Kaif, there is a love thing going on, but it's not really a romantic kind of interlude that they have at any point. Whereas here, when you look at that song, it does look like a proper love song between two young kids, and I think that may be a little first for you.
Yeah, but yeah, then this film has a lot of firsts for me, so I don't mind that. And yeah, I my only thing was, it should not be like something is there just for the heck of it, so that we have tried to avoid.
Right. So what is it about, let's say, two people falling in love? I don't want to spoil the story, but let's say it's about two people falling in love. What is it that you can do that's not reminding people of earlier love stories?
Well, if I'm Arun and I love this girl, but I also love my tank, then how do I choose at a certain point? It's like that. I mean, I can't tell you too much, but yeah, he likes a girl, they break up, and they break up for a very, almost like only, I mean, it's like a very, that age ka reason, And he says, look, I can't focus, I have to, it's like that, I've also done that, I'm not ready for anything, I need to establish myself or whatever and all that. So that kind of a very pure, innocent love, and that's just a part of the film. I mean,
right. So can you take me through the writing of this film? For example, like, yes, you had this two chunks of a story. One is the story of this NDA boy, and one is the story of his father, right? How was the writing of the film?
So the father's story, the beats were sort of, the father's story is the spine, actually. So it had the beats I mean, it has the whole arc, you know what happens, and there's an element of intrigue, there's an element of suspense in that. And the boy story is something where it is very, I didn't want to make it Amar Chitrakatha, in the sense, here's a good boy and I didn't want to do that. So we actually met a lot of people, we have taken things he did right, he's made mistakes and this and that. We wanted to include all that. It's not like the boy story is just that you're seeing his journey, actually. I mean, from the day he joins the army till the day he dies, what's he going through, and when he's very excited about, I want to go on the front, please don't keep us in the reserve. But when you go to the front, you slowly at that age you realize, what it's all about, and is it, and yet you have to be there, and yet you see colleagues dying randomly next to you and so on. So it changes you, and then your moment comes, and you choose what you have to do.
Yeah. Actually, the more you speak about it, I think the more I'm getting a bit of a flavor of the film. Have you seen Laksh?
Yeah, I've seen Laksh.
What do you think about that?
I liked it in its time. I mean, it's not a film I would have made, but I liked it.
Right. Why do you say you wouldn't have made it?
Because I mean, that's again a story of a boy who I mean, it's got a lot of similar things, but why I haven't I made it, I don't know. Just because I'm probably making this.
Yeah. So for me, that again was interesting because it shows a guy. I mean, it's a fictional story, but it shows a guy who is lost in life and doesn't have purpose, and then at one point he is forced to find purpose, and ends up doing this big mission. Again, that was something that yet it maybe didn't come together 100%, but it was again a different.
No, it had great moments.
It had great moments and kind of thing. There was a good part that the girl was playing in his life, and there was all that kind of stuff. But I'm genuinely interested in this film because Ikkis, because you're kind of to see how your sensibility, which has been shaped by so many, because it's not many people that when you talk to them, they immediately mention the bridge on the River Kwai, right? That's like such an what is 57, 1957 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like an iconic David Lean movie, and you have this Alec Guinness there playing this part and all that kind of stuff. And I think many of us must have seen it in the reruns. When you watch the whole bridge blowing up at the end, that was this big moment coming up.
And there was that agony of the character, and it was a beautiful film. And most people now, I don't even know whether people watch it now, So
if you were to give like a list of films for people to watch, great war films or anti-war films, whatever, but moments that inspired you to make this, what are some of the films that you'd name?
Well, I would name definitely Saving Private Ryan. That film is something which I love the film, and it again is like he knows it, he gets it right, and he knows what to do. And Saving Private Ryan is one. I would mention these two Russian films, Cranes Are Flying and The Ballad of a Soldier. Both are extremely evocative and beautiful pieces. There are many more Russian films. Fury is the kind of movie which I wouldn't make that movie. When I see it, I get awed and impressed and everything. But I feel it's too much work for me maybe to make a bigger. So I want a story which is much more. There's meat in the story, So Fury is I like the movie because I'm doing a war film. That's why I watched it extensively, and hence I like it also. Which other movies? There's one called Stalag 17. I don't know. I've often talked about
Billy
it.
Wilder.
Billy Wilder's film.
Actually, it's one of his less discussed films. William Holden, right?
William Holden,
Yeah.
So, those, Band of Brothers, again, if Ikkis, for example, the amount of research we had on the film, it was very tempting to, make it into a series kind of a thing. Not for tempting for me, but in the sense the material was like that,
Right.
But we wanted to make it into a film, so I was very clear on that. There's a film called Lebanon, which is a film which is interesting in the sense it's entirely from inside a tank, the character never gets out. So it's extremely claustrophobic. You get a sense of what it is. What is tank warfare all about? I was very tempted to also follow that style, but again, I can't sort of. So here and there we have sequences which are claustrophobic, but it's not that film is, again, I would say, is a harrowing experience.
So we spoke about as a writer, while writing this film, but as a director, you're approaching this film. So the drama portions, I'm not saying they're easy, but they're staging, all that kind of stuff. You've kind of done that stuff. What was your biggest challenge in staging the war sequences? Because not every director can do every genre, right? Sometimes you need a certain vision of how you're going to deal with it. How did Sriram, the director, say, I'm going to deal with these war sequences?
So that's where I learned from a whole lot of movies I saw. There's one more movie I'll mention called Weekend at Dunkirk, which I loved, which is a French film made by a director called Henry Verneuil. He makes thrillers mostly, but he made one terrific war film, So anyway, back to your question about the action. So the main thing with tank warfare is, it's a very cumbersome thing to show tanks fighting. It's not like cars, it's not like, bikes and so on. Tanks are, right, in that sense, they are monsters, but they are a little stodgy. And what do you do to make a tank battle, make it exciting? So we had this Russian action director, Alex, who had done, Russia, like I said, they make a lot of tank and action war movies. So he had come, and the good thing is he read the script, he connected very much with the script, So he was like So largely his guidance, then of course my writer, my DOP, all of us, we sat and said, how do we do it? Then we tried everything. We did storyboarding but we didn't know our tanks, how sort of unpredictable they're going to be. So sometimes it just happened that as for a storyboard, we've got some 90 shots, Yeah, but after third day, maybe about 36 we have taken. That's it. And how do we put it together and all that? So this kind of challenges were there throughout, and of course, a lot of this film, I mean, while we are shooting it, okay, this will be added, that will be added later, and so these are also things like, I mean,
This as an
in the sense, in the sense, I'm shooting something, the backdrop, there'll be so many more
Oh,
tanks and this and that. Now, all that VFX, I mean, so it was education on every front. Luckily, I had good people around me, and so I just had to make sure they're all doing their best, and I'm able to sort of, help push them, nudge them in the right direction.
Right, but your focus was the drama.
No, my focus was a drama, but since there is action and there is all that, so it is, I mean, everything has to be my focus. It was not that I left it to them,
Right.
So we had to find ways to do it, and our tanks also, like, action is a very expensive thing to shoot simply because the number of people you have and the amount of footage you get in a day. So all this, so we had to really plan a lot, and then we had to, okay, this is what we have got. How do we now shuffle these cards to win the game? So that.
Right. Now you have a movie that's how long roughly?
It's about 2 hours 10 minutes. It's not 2 hours 12 minutes or so.
Nice.
That is the movie. Yeah? There will be I hate that smoking disclaimer and all that comes in my movie.
I can imagine, because you're in a room that's filled with cigarette smoke. So you're one of the, I remember in the old days, when you walked into journalism, like the big bosses' offices, they'll all be like, like talking to you like that. And, when I walked in, you were like that. So,
well, my mom might watch this interview, so I don't smoke. I just sometimes act like it.
So the film, when you kind of, would it be right to call this movie an epic?
These are big words, and I don't loosely used, I think, So I wouldn't call it all that. But the thing is, I mean, when the script is a little longer, So like I said, we had a whole lot of interesting incidents and stories which we wanted to weave into it. But so as I began shooting, I got a sense of, okay, what I need. And luckily, since we were shooting over a period of a year and a half, we had time to put it together also, whatever we have shot. And so we know. Then at a sort of when we have done about 70-80% of the film, I said, okay, we've got all this left, which means they're going to get another 40 minutes of, do we really need this, or can we manage without it, So we took some judicious calls, and in a way, I'm happy that, because if I had shot some things, then you're very tempted to use it, But if you haven't shot it, then you have to try and best to work with what you have,
So your script was longer than the film.
Script is longer than the film, yeah.
Right. So when you mention, I'll take Saving Private Ryan simply because it's a film that many people are likely to have seen. What is like a sequence that really stands out for you? Among many sequences, what's something that really stands out for you?
In Saving Private Ryan, I mean, number one, the opening. I mean, that is like that sort of gets you into the movie kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And after that, for me, it's just the characters. How each character has been established in a certain manner, and how it's beautifully done. And I know there is going to be sporadic action here and there. There are going to be, I mean, like you said, every war film, there is going to be this guy next to you might die any moment and so on. But I think it's the writing of how characters were built, evolved, how did they grow, and that whole, there's also that spine of, okay, they will eventually meet Ryan, then it turns out to be the wrong guy, then they find the right guy who doesn't want to leave. So there are all those beats, So I also tried my best to, I mean, it has to be engaging on a film level. It can't be episodic only,
One thing that I really like about Saving Ryan, among many things, is that there is this question underneath, is that why is one person's life more valuable than one soldier's life more valuable than the other soldier's life? Because it's like they have this thing that the film is based on a rule that the military had, that if X number of if all the siblings or all the children of a particular household were killed, then the last surviving one would have to be brought back home, so that there's at least one kid left in the family.
Right.
And then that's a Ryan kid, right? So that's a very emotional hook. What's the emotional hook of this movie? Or can you say it at all? Or
this is boy's story. That's one, the bulk of the movie. And there's also the tale of the father. He goes to Pakistan because at that time there was this thing, Kargil had just happened, and there was the Vajpayee government was doing encouraging something called twin track diplomacy. So they were encouraging exchange of artists, and visas were a little easier and so on. So at that time, senior Khetrapal, who was born in undivided India, he was born in Sargodha, he gets a invite from his college saying we are having some celebration. So we're inviting alumni from across the border, and the alumni include people like Devanand and all who are from the same college. So he goes there, and each of them is hosted by somebody. If I'm a professor, I'll be hosted by a professor and so on. So he's an army man. His father, Mr. Khetrapal, is an army man. So he's hosted by an army guy, and he doesn't know, but the audience will slowly realize he is the guy who killed his son.
Okay.
So that is it's in public domain. There's nothing and how this relationship, how it turns out, why is he hosting him, and what is his reason for hosting him, and all that becomes a story.
That's the crux of the story. Okay, so now I'm beginning to get an idea of why you wanted to make this movie, right? So the when you have a movie like this, the ideal way to do this would be without songs and so on and so forth, right? Because even thrillers can somehow accommodate some music. For example, that scene where Vijay Sethupathi and Katrina, they dance, like that kind of builds into the bigger portion of the movie, because there are two people alone in a house. But in a movie like this, there is also the song that's just released. There's also a marketing pressure where you need certain material out there that is going to bring people into the movie, right? At any point, were you like, I should make this movie without any moments like this, like songs or something like that?
No, on the contrary, when I began making films, I used to think I love songs, but I used to think that they are interfering with the story. In a thriller, it especially interferes because you're actually breaking the thing. Here maybe over the few films I've made, I realize I love songs, and why am I shying away from it? And why am I sort of hesitating, and why am I trying to be like, no songs is a realistic movie and all that? It's all nonsense, because it's in my DNA, So, and I feel in a song you can say much more than what four scenes will have to say what a song is saying, So that economy is wonderful. There's also, the very fact that song is something that also is, that's the best way to, if you like the song, you will enjoy the song in the end. You may come for the movie and all that. But I didn't put any songs, let's put this song so that people will come to it's not like that. It's the songs are integral in the movie, and they are actually in the film. In the video, they may be maybe 3-4 minutes long, but in the film, they are used judiciously, wherever I need it, for how long I need it.
I get what you're saying. There is also the generational shift, right? Which is like see, we come from an era, you a little older, but we're all from that same bunch of cine mad people that watched entire movies, sometimes just for the songs or whatever it is. We remember the songs, where they were placed, this, that, and all that. So the song, we used to a narrative with songs where, like, for example, to Hakikat, you're used to, like, okay, fighting this bloody war, machine gun, something, suddenly they're like singing this, that, and all that, right? So it's not a thing. Even when Border happened, it was still a thing.
Right.
But after, I don't know what to call it, let's say the westernization of kind of cinema, where songs began to play less of a role, unless they were rom-coms or romances or something like that. That's when I see a change happening, where people are now placing songs more in the background and other things than actually having them play the songs full on and having people lip sync them or mouth them. That's where I was coming from.
Yeah. So the lip sync song is, even I don't have lip sync in that sense. I've got maybe a little bit. But you're right about that. But I'm saying today that doesn't matter. There was a time when I couldn't go and watch Dharamji, for example, lip syncing Rafta is like great fun. It can't be a background song. You'll wonder about it. They can't be walking on the street. That Basu Chatterjee can do,
Yeah.
But you need, the flamboyance is required there, and that was that great era, the 70s and all, where the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s songs were, beautifully woven into films. So, but my point is very simple. If I need a lip sync song, and if I am convinced, I have no problem. There are those unwritten rules we make for ourselves. I'll not use the zoom. I'll not do this. I'll not do that. It's all bull. So
you kind of a thing. So when you, after, what is it, the 8-column affair?
My diploma film.
Fantastic diploma film. You come to make movies, and you're making Ek Hasina Thi and all these things. How have you changed as a director in that? What are some of these rules that you relaxed for yourself, or what have you found that things that you said that I will never do, but then you have found yourself doing?
Yeah, not many like that, but what I mean to say is that eventually you come to know that the film is, it's a very, it's the character, something in the story which has to be the main thing. It's not how I shoot this. And luckily I worked with different cameramen. So I remember even Anil is like, they don't like some Anil Mohan, they don't like extra, the director, hey, let's try this and all, hey, let's do it like this, So they are quite that way.
Let's be simple.
Let's be, because that's the hardest part, and I learned that from Badlapur onwards. I learned that, Otherwise, if you look at Asian Vinod, I was like, I want flamboyance wherever I can, So, but yeah, there is value in that also. I don't know. Next, I might get back to a fun such movie. But
Do you know what's next?
I've got 2 or 3 stories, but I don't know. I've not picked.
Okay, right now you're chilling with or rather you're
I'm
doing the
chilling.
last stretch of post-production work on the movie.
Yeah,
before
because
it
it's the
gets
first time in my life that Merry Christmas was in post-production. I had already begun shooting Ikkis, So, I want to be in that zone now. It helps. Otherwise, it's too easy to just sit at home and watch movies. So,
What was the last thing you watched?
I have not watched for a long time now. What did I watch now? Recently, I saw one battle after another that I saw. Hindi, I don't remember.
How, did you like it?
I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. No, last few months I've not. I have not really watched. This year I've missed many of the movies, but I'll watch in Jan now.
So when war movies come, there is a political background because it's about the government of the time. Do you make those references at all? How do you handle the fact that certain things could be volatile when viewed by the censor board or when viewed by the public of today?
See, this film, we have to, once the film is over, we have to show it to the ADGPI, the army, who they will they will check whether it broadly passes their muster in terms of accuracy and all that. So they were fine.
Like a rough cut.
No, it's the final movie. Final movie, maybe the mixing was not done, but it's like with the, but it's the final movie. So they have to give a NOC, okay, this movie can go kind of thing. The good thing about my story is it's a story that can happen in any war zone, it is of course here it's dealing with India and Pakistan, but it can happen in any country, any 2 warring countries. The same story, same like Saving Private Ryan. The core story can happen anywhere in the world, So that is the beauty of it. So I think that's what will work beyond the specifics of this war and this moment. And I have not gone into too much detail of the actual, that's the macro story, which there are, the 1971 war, it was a 2-week war, but still there must be, borders from the same war. So there are so many stories, Pippas from the same thing. So there must be so many untold stories still. So the thing is, our story is something which it's got a human kind of an element which is important, So that is what I think works.
But I think all your films, even if it is a darker side, there is a human element because there is you cannot watch those films if you don't care about those people. Like Badlapur is a very dark story, but kind of a thing. But the movie is nothing without its human element. And it makes you ask that question, right? It's like what's right and what's wrong, and going after that. So I think that's part of your DNA. Even if you make darkish movies, like if that kind of a thing, would this be the least dark movie you've made?
War is dark.
War is dark in that abstraction, sure. But what I'm saying is, your other films, they go for black comedy. They're in that noir space where everyone's in a moral grey shade. That kind of a thing. Would you say this is your most
it's the most
wholesome movie you've made?
Wholesome, yeah. You can probably, I don't know whether I'll use the word wholesome, but it's a very it's a very honest attempt to tell a story which really connected with me. So all my own other movies I've forgotten.
That's everything. That's all your movies are an honest attempt to say a story that connected with you. That's not going to change from movie to movie, right?
Yeah. So just repeat the question. I'll try and.
No, I'm saying, would this be the most? Because look at your career, right? It's like you start with there's crime, there's all that kind of stuff involved in all your films. This is probably the I think, and that's part goes back to the first question I asked, is like, why is Sriram Raghavan in the zone? And that you answered the question, but it's also a zone that is a very patriotism is there. There's youthful optimism. There's a father's emotions or whatever little I've gleaned from that. These are not things that one usually finds, because yours are more in the crime zone. A person taking revenge or those kinds of things. So they're in a very different zone altogether, which is why I'm asking if this is probably the most, or have you found a way to introduce an element of the darker side of man in this as well?
No, this is not like my other movies at all. There's no connection, and I think that was the interest for me also. Can I tell this beautiful story as good as how good can I tell it? So this has dark moments, of course. It has got things where it's not all saccharine sweet kind of a thing. It's not.
Not sweet,
Huh.
wholesome. Like as in, like patriotism is a very wholesome emotion, right? It's not a dark emotion at all.
Patriotism is a deadly word. I mean, I'm wondering how do I slot this movie? I mean, in the sense.
But wouldn't you say that somebody who says, I'm going to go to the NDA to serve my country, that's a patriotic decision, wouldn't you say?
Of course.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
no, I mean, there are people who go to the army, and the thing is, the family of the army is a very important thing. I
Yeah.
mean, that's something I discovered over the last 3-4 years, meeting so many army people. I mean, and living in cantonments and going to boot camps and all that. That world, that bonding that is there, the sort of camaraderie that is there, the way they are. I mean, the discipline, all that is something which is, worth emulating in a way. And somewhere it's such a different world for me. So I was quite enthralled in the process of the movie.
Right. I guess see, when I say patriotism, I don't mean jingoism. I mean genuine love for one's country and wanting to serve. I'm not saying, say we are the best with all that. That's different, right? That's a different emotion, and whether it's valid or not, we're not getting into. We're talking just about that emotion. That's what I was trying to say. It's just like it just seems like a clean kid who went and fought a war. And I think what really touched me about what you said was the real stuff that happened was during the last week of his life, is what you said?
Last 1 hour.
Last 1 hour of his life.
It's like Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was not supposed to be in a certain place, and what happened to him. So it's very much. I mean, I have not used that parallel here, but it was in our minds. Okay, it's like Abhimanyu. But then Abhimanyu, I didn't want to sort of tweak the story to make it more Abhimanyu-ish kind of a thing. So but it's like that. This boy was not meant to be there. He happened to be there. He could have not done anything. He could have. If he had not done anything, I would not be sitting here, and he would be sitting somewhere and having a glass of beer, I guess. So.
Yeah. What is the when you look back at your films, which is the film that's come closest to what you wanted it to be?
I think Badlapur and Johnny Gaddar. Johnny Gaddar and Badlapur were both films where, while making it, when as it's getting over, I know, okay, this is good fun. And that way.
So why didn't the other films, what was the gap between what you wanted to make and...
No, that's, no, I don't mean otherwise. Like when Andhadhun, for example, till the day it released, I had no idea what's going to happen, because there was one set of people who said there's a disastrous...
Oh, you mean from the audience point of view?
Yeah, no, not audience, even my producers and all that, they was little skeptical, will it work? And even we didn't know, because we used to have a lot of trials, and in the trial people will say, but they will also say things because they've come specially, they'll also say this didn't work, that didn't work, whereas the viewer is much more generous. So, when Andhadhun, it's only when it came out that I realized, oh, people are loving it so much, and that end really worked. I had no idea. We thought we wanted it, but we didn't know.
Sriram, is it possible for you to watch a movie, for a person in the movie industry, to watch a movie as the way an audience is watching it?
I try to do that. That's the way we have to watch it. But the thing is, if it doesn't connect, then you start wandering, your mind starts wandering, and then nowadays I don't even, that's why it's very, earlier I used to watch every movie, almost. Now I don't do that, so now I need to make sure I watch, or I end up, what I think we all do, spending an hour or two trying to see what I want to watch, and eventually I'll either go to sleep or I'll end up watching, say, Bridge on the River Kwai or Lawrence of Arabia or some classic, which I know is going to, I'm assured of a great time.
No, because even me, when I watch a movie, there is a basic element of the audience still left in me. So I'm enjoying the narrative beats of it, but there's also one part of my mind processing, oh, the camera is moving like that, or some sound design work here is really good, or something like that, which kind of technically takes you you're kind of half in and half out of the movie. You feel.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that's something that happens with you as well. So
no, but I think luckily the real good movie, no, it sort of
Just
tears through all that.
tears.
You forget everything,
Yeah.
So you just get into the movie. Sometimes that happens, which is wonderful.
when was the last time that happened for you?
No, it happens in many films that way. When was the last superb new recent? But I mean, if you're talking about Indian movies, there are quite a few. I mean, I would say from if I take Malayalam and this, there are many films that have done that to me. I said, wow, it's over. And like you want to tell people, let's just watch this kind of a thing.
Right. What is that zone? What are the movies that you like? Malayalam films.
Oh, I mean, now I don't ask people names because I'm very bad at, and plus, I'm a Tamilian, but like I liked Atam, I mean, the ones I remember, the names, then there are so many thrillers yet. I mean, now I'm forgetting the names now.
Yeah.
There's one set on that, that mountain top with these two cops and
Oh yeah.
I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Three words.
With this one's there. Shobin Shahir is there. Yeah.
So, I mean, wonderful. There are many such films. In fact, I think when next time doing a thriller, I'm going to go south and look for stories, So,
But do you think it is this whole discussion that is happening today about why Malayalam cinema is so different and why the rest of the country is struggling to catch up and all that? Do you think that it's also because of certain infrastructural issues that maybe a Hindi film has to look a certain way with a certain scale, and that becomes like a stumbling block?
see, it's different for different people. I mean, you must have, so many times Anurag has spoken about this thing, the whole bloating of the Hindi film unit, I mean, like when I made Johnny Gaddar, for example, I had 3 assistants with me and it was a fairly small unit, Now, the same film will have some 200 people on the set and you're wondering who are these people, and each person's got some entourage and kind of things like that. So the whole thing becomes sort of big and expensive, and actually you don't need it. So I don't know, I want to try going back to almost, another way of making a film which is much more contained, a smaller team, and that's where I think when I say I watch Malayalam film with a lot of interest is because I'm trying to see why can't we do it here? Why can't I get the similar sort of method of making a film here?
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, what is stopping you as the director saying that I only want X number of people on my set? Why do you have 200 people there?
I mean, you're right. I remember when we were doing Merry Christmas also, we were shooting in one location for a month. And so it should be, I mean, it's like a house, I mean, but still there are people there. I think it's all this, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can start with the stars. I mean, they have an entourage. They have a whole lot of team of people. Then similarly, not just stars. I mean, every department has got more people than they need, Because I feel ever since that first AD system began, so it becomes a kind of this person will do this. It's a great system in its own way. Maybe it works best abroad. But here, I feel it's like, I would rather have, suppose I'm making a film, there are 4 people, there are 3 or 4 assistants, and we discuss the movie, everybody does everything, everybody knows everything, and we are together making the movie. It's not that this person is only costume, so they have no idea of something else, or they are not supposed to have an idea. So I feel all these things are methods we have adopted from the West, but sometimes the movie needs it, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. Let's talk about Dharamji. Obviously, this is his last film?
Yeah.
Or did he shoot the current film after this? No, that was before.
Which film? Which current?
The one with Alia and Ranveer.
That
was earlier.
Yeah,
right? So this is technically his last.
Yeah.
The thing that he shot, right? So what was it like? You met him in Johnny Gaddar, and obviously the movies that you've liked him in are not the movies that typically people like. You probably liked him in, let's say, Blackmail.
Yeah, I like. I mean, today there was some article. I mean, Anupama Bandhani. All those, of course, I love. But I've also seen very strange movies like International Cook and Kimot, and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when you were doing Johnny Gaddar and you wanted to cast the character of Sheshadri, the name Sheshadri and the face Dharmendra, they don't really come together, right? So what made you say this is the man I want?
No, the man I wanted was first. I mean, I wanted him for sure because I think he has that, since Johnny Gaddar is about, criminals, and the eldest is a sort of a man of honor, and the youngest is a sort of a upstart and deserves whatever he gets in the end, So I wanted somebody with that dignity in the face, and that gentleman quality in him, which Dharamji had. So, and I was wondering whether he would accept such a role because he was a member of parliament at that time, and so on. I'm going to be playing a smuggler, a retired smuggler, and so on. But luckily, he loved the character, and we really got along while the film was being made. And after that, I somehow had this thing of like when Pulp Fiction, where Travolta suddenly came back. So I thought, oh, this may be like Dharmendra will be like back in the reckoning. And I mean, basically back in the reckoning, he was always there, but people giving him good worthy roles. So then, of course, here and there he got, but then we used to be in touch. So then we said, let's do something. Then I remember I even met him for Agent Vinod for a small cameo, as the head of Raw. He said, is this one of those India-Pakistan kind of movies? I said, it's not like that, but he said, no, I'd rather avoid this because I'm not comfortable kind of a thing. So, but then we used to talk about other films and so on, other projects, and he'll suddenly, one day he'll tell me, I've got this great subject, please come and listen to it. And I've sat and midway I'm looking and saying, sir, this is verdict, and your son has already done it, So, Damini was that kind of a thing. So we used to be in touch, and then when I got this story, so it's almost like maybe part of my decision to do this was also, oh, wow, what a wonderful role for him. That maybe have been a subconscious influence on me saying yes in that 5 minutes. So I met him, and when I narrated the story to him, and very early I narrated him, even before I had any other cast done and all. So he loved the story. He just loved the story, and he used to, over the, last 4-5 years, he used to tell me, when are you starting this? When are you starting this? Such a Merry Christmas still going on. Okay, that kind of a thing. Then eventually I promised him, I said, sir, we'll begin. October we began. I had not finished Merry Christmas. The release was still there. But we began shooting. And and with him, you go meet him, you go over the scene with him, he will discuss the scene threadbare, he will talk about it, he will give you ideas and suggestions, all for you to take or leave, So that way it has been an extremely wonderful experience, So
How do you deal with actors in general? Do you say that each person has their own method and each person has to be treated differently, and so you approach them that way, or do you act out scenes, or how do you deal with it?
No, I don't act out scenes, but yeah, each of them. In this film, for example, Agastya's ranked newcomer.
Had he done that?
He had done
Zoya
Archie's.
film?
He had done Archie's.
Yeah.
So, but when we signed him, he was a newcomer. He had done nothing.
Yeah.
Then Archie's was, since that was contractually, I think COVID ke baad, that's the first thing he did after that.
Yeah.
But he is a new boy. Then Jaideep, who's a sort of a terrific actor, but he's not he's a today's actor, and Dharamji, who's like, from the.
What's the difference?
No, they all, each one, you have to deal with them in
So
their
tell
own
me
way.
how do you deal with Dharamji? How do you deal with Jaideep, and how do you deal with Agastya? Like how as actors?
So with Dharamji, largely we go discuss the scene. He will, and with Dharamji, actually, there's nothing I have to do. With any good actor, there's nothing the director has to do. You just have to be there and just keep them going.
Yeah, but why did you? Because when you say today's actor, there's something different there, right? What is that difference?
No, what I mean is like the way with Jaideep I used to, for example, and he also had the maximum scenes with Dharamji actually. So they had to sort of work together. It's not like when I was casting the film, it had to be these two guys have to work together. Not like this is a good actor, that's a good actor, but they're together. How is that happening?
That chemistry.
Yeah. So that is something which only when we put them together. When we began the film, we began with their scenes first, and the thing is, because all of us were in sort of love and awe of Dharamji. So when Jaideep came, the ice was immediately broken. So let's rehearse the scene. So immediately they'll both do it, and there used to be a time Jaideep used to have he'll sort of say the thing under his breath, and Dharamji probably was a little hard. He's saying, I don't know what he's saying. So then Dharamji used to, I said, don't worry. I'll say, Jaideep, thoda, all that used to happen. But the good thing about Dharamji is he used to be prepared enough to know the other actors' lines also. He used to write his own lines. Rewrite his own lines in Urdu. He'll write the other actors' cues, everything. He'll do his own preparation. It's wonderful, actually.
I was watching an interview with Emma Thompson, and basically she said that when she writes a screenplay, she writes the screenplay, as in like longhand, because apparently there's a connection between the brain and the hand. So there's something that's different when you write a screenplay as opposed to when you type a screenplay. And I've noticed a lot of the older generation actors and the actors that come from theater say this, which is like, I write my lines. Nana Patekar has said this, for instance. Like, I write the whole script 25 times to kind of internalize it completely, so that when I go to the set, that is not going to be a problem. The lines are always, they're part of me now.
Right,
You know,
right.
so it's like a thing. So Dharmendra, you should write his lines.
Yeah, yeah. He should write his lines and he'll write in Urdu and he'll, okay, tell me again, okay, this, suppose they say it like this, and he'll try variations and all. And he will write it down, and then, I mean, so much of the film is the way he speaks also. So I used to give him so this is the basic content, this is the lines. Now, how would you say it? How would this character say it? And he would give us option one, option two, and so on.
And with Agastya?
With Agastya, it is because with Agastya, the thing is, there was a whole. I mean, there are solo scenes, of course, but it's an ensemble. There are four boys in the tank, so there was all kinds of There were a lot of new boys in the film. There are about, I think, a dozen or so new characters who are all youngsters. 21, 22, the war. So all of them had to go through training and boot camp kind of things together. So that way, in this film, it's really not. It's about being in that army discipline zone kind of thing. It's not like an acting film where, for example, Zanjeer is an acting film. It's a different kind of film. Here, it's almost like that's the presence, the being comfortable with equipment and all that. All this becomes part of it.
Would you say that the way he looks is probably 80% of the character? That young look is that's probably the more.
No, that is the main asset. I mean, that youth is really what whatever it is. It's a kid. It's a boy. And so in fact, if I make him perform or if I make him something, it will start ruining it. It becomes like I'm trying to launch him or something like that. Nothing like that. It's just he has to be the character, and he also is very. In that sense, because Arun Khetarpal's story is such I mean, we all felt to a certain, okay, we better do it right kind of thing. Because unlike many other, say, biographical characters, there is only photographs of Arun. There is nothing on, there's no video, there's no clip, there's nobody knows anything. So it's
There's
like
no voice recording, nothing.
Nothing. Because nobody knew. I mean, it's like, so now it's almost the people at large, they know his picture from whatever they have seen in the army thing or on the net. And they represent this boy. So it's a huge sort of responsibility, whether you like it or not, too. And the army guys are very, like, Arun Khetarpal is there, he's a very important name there.
So, for example, to brief Agastya about his character, did the meetings that you had with Arun Khetarpal's, like, people in the tank, the other two that survived,
Right.
did they give you things about, like, he'd walk like this, or he'd talk like this, or he'd make jokes like this, that kind of thing? That
Yeah, like I said, we met a whole lot of people, right from his tank crew, the people in the tank, to the people in NDA. So there was this whole range of, like Roshavor, like different things you get to do, and then from that we form a composite kind of, okay, this is the boy. So the film is interesting in the sense that there are things he's done. Oh, a hero wouldn't do that, that kind of a thing. I said, he's not a hero here. He's just a kid who's doing something, and so we didn't treat it like. There are also incidents where, he gave, when he was a kid, he gave his sweater to some other kid in a cold, shivering kid in a chai shop, and his father got very angry and he didn't tell. I mean, these stories were not for this movie, So,
you didn't want to go there.
no, I don't want to go there.
There is the larger debate now about people want to see X kind of movie, people want to watch Y kind of movie. A movie like Sayara works. A movie like Dhurandhar, which is some 3.5 hours, seems to be working. I mean, we don't know how it's going to do because it's early days and all that, but the word of mouth seems to be damn good on that. What is it that from what you've seen or what you've discussed with your assistants, what have they told you? What is your thing about the scenario? Is it as bleak as people make it out to be, or is it like it always was?
I mean, now the only thing is, it's, I think, simply because there's too much choice. Na? So there are many movies I'd rather wait. I'm not so.
So even you would rather wait.
Sometimes, like I know if there's a Bond, I have to go and see it. If there's a talented film, I'll have to go and see it. Spielberg, I'll have to go and see it. There are some films I will go and watch. Like Odyssey, whatever it is, I'm going to go and watch it. So it's like that. So there are some films that others. It's either word of mouth. Some little movie comes out and suddenly everybody likes it. And because there have also been instances of very low budget Gujarati films or animation film that suddenly broken the records and so on. So we don't know what really works, and that's the biggest thing that worries producers. What works? They don't know. But as a director or as a writer, I should know what works for me at least. And then we try to. I mean, if whatever the next thing I'm doing, I am also aware that will the people come to the hall, or am I doing it for OTT, and do I need a big star, or is the story strong enough? I mean, all these will be discussions and all, and eventually you'll say, okay, this is the kind of movie it is. So there are some stories I feel, okay, nice story, but OTT. Why am I doing it on film?
But you directed for OTT?
No, not yet.
Not yet. You don't want to get into that space yet.
Not yet. I'm getting work in films, so I'd rather be there.
Use the big screen.
Yeah.
Right. So when that thing happens, that's where I'm going, which is like, do you choose just say this movie interests me, and I'm obviously you're well known by now, you're well established, so it's not going to be too difficult to get a producer. That's the only criteria. Or do you also kind of say, like, does the story deserve the big screen? That's also something you're saying you want to do.
I mean, since there is no story, I'd say that. But if I find a beautiful story which just I love, then all other debates and arguments go there. I want to do this. So
right.
That's the thing. Then you don't care whether people are going to see it here or there or whatever. You just want to make it.
So tell me, like, that definition, why does Merry Christmas, in your view, why does it deserve the big screen? It's an intimate story.
Right.
Intimate crime drama, let's say. Why does it deserve the big screen?
Well, it deserves a big screen. See, Merry Christmas is...
let's leave out the point that every movie looks good on the big screen, right? It's like leave that point out. But I'm saying with your eyes, through your eyes, this is a movie that I wanted to make for the big screen because what? Why?
I was subconsciously trying to make my own Vertigo kind of a thing. It was like, because Vertigo was a movie which I remember when I first saw it. There was a sort of 4 Hitchcock films had been freed from some copyright thing. They all got released like ek ke baad ek, on the big screen, about 2 decades back or something. So Rear Window and North by Northwest and so all other movies. This one, I said, it's a little slow. It's a little thing. So then slowly you start liking it more and more, and then later on you say, okay, it's a great film and so on. So for me, Merry Christmas was like, I knew the pace is this. And then I thought, okay, and Anurag Kashyap was with me. He saw the film. I said, this pace can be dangerous kind of a thing, He said, yeah, but if you don't try it, who will try it? That sort
of... Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yeah. So 2-3 people, I said, yeah, go for it. And somewhere I thought, okay, it's a small movie and... but I think... I don't know, it didn't do well commercially in that sense, but there are enough people who have seen on the big screen and enjoyed it on the big screen. So I think it's a modest success for its intentions,
Yeah.
But I somehow thought, okay, all those, half of those who saw Andazun came and see it. So all this kind of stupid calculations we did and...
but also I would have probably, had the great fortune of interviewing with Hitchcock. I'd have probably asked him the same question because Vertigo is a Vista Vision movie, that process called Vista Vision, right?
Yeah.
And again, you wonder, of all the stories that you could tell in Vista Vision, that enormous widescreen format, why would you choose Vertigo? Because that's again a very intimate story of a man following a woman, and that's what I thought when I saw it on TV, right? But when I saw it on the big screen, that scene in the Redwoods forest where they're seeing the trees, the scene where there's that wide shot of her falling into the sea and
the bridge.
Everything suddenly becomes different. It just like, even though it's technically a small movie in terms of thing, the bigness of everything makes everything. Even him just driving on those roads up and down, doing this, doing that, and all that kind of stuff. I thought a bit of that when I saw the One Battle After Another thing.
The last one.
So I think that way. I kind of understood why that. Of course, there was no OTT or small screen then. We pretty much made the movie for the big screen.
Right. Yeah.
But the point of whether some movies deserve a bigger screen versus some others, that's always been a thing. Especially now that there's been so much of crackdown on the type of movies being made.
No, of course, Hitchcock would have made it on the big screen, though, so because that was the only thing
Only
there.
way, yeah.
But for me, it's again, I mean, Americans was a beautiful story. I thought, okay, let me make it, because actually looking at it on paper is like 2 or 3 locations maximum, one main location, 20-25 days of shoot. So it's a real small movie, you know. While making it, it became, I thought I am doing a great thing by doing it in 2 languages, but that was not the best idea, maybe, you know, because a lot of people up north thought it's a South movie, and I don't know, it didn't I had two negatives, you would say, or two different films of the same thing, Merry Christmas, but it was not probably required, you know.
I don't know why that happens, because same things happen kind of with Tere Ishq Mein, because it's a hit in the north, but where in the south, I think they see it as a north movie or something.
I don't know what
it is, but
something, yeah.
it's not really taken off in the Tamil version. But the Hindi version is a big
Right,
hit.
yeah.
So it's like I don't know if this two language formula works anymore. But what is it that you want to make next, in the sense that you're playing with some things? Is it like back to Sriram Raghavan territory, or is it something different?
No, everything is my territory only, but I don't know. Since there are the kind of 2 or 3 things I've got are all sort of in the thriller genre, but they're different, you know, different kinds of films, you know. So I don't know which one I would start, and but maybe a month or 2 later I'll be much clearer about this.
Yeah. So the reason I want you to do this is because there are very few people here who make movies that, regardless of whether the movies work for you or not, as whatever it is, you always want to watch them, and the movies always have something that surprises you, and you're one of them. So if you get into the thriller space, that's something that you own, and I think you should give up on that. You should be like a Hitchcock, where you're kind of
No, I'm not giving up on it for sure. It's just that because everything is flooded with thrillers and, you know, pulp thrillers and all. There's too much of it, so you have to.
There's too much of it.
I mean, I think so. If you see on OTT, I mean, wherever is
Oh
like
yeah. Now, yeah,
so,
everything's a murder mystery.
So why would I? So if I don't know, I have to figure out what makes. I mean, why would I go to a hall to watch my movie? I have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's a fundamental question,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
this one. Now, have you ever figured out why you and Sridhar have such differing sensibilities when it comes to the movies that you both work in?
I don't know. I mean, because
You're both very interested in the same kinds of films. You both grew up watching the same kinds of films, and yet he's out in a more mainstreamy kind of zone, and you're doing your thing.
I think because for me, I am also writing and directing. So for him, I think the writing, he likes the big, large movie. You know, I mean, he recently, I mean, that's the one I saw recently in Nuremberg. So Judgment. So when he sees a good movie, he'll tell me, please watch this, and he sees something. So that way, we do share a lot of common things about movies. But yeah, he's in the spy universe, and I somehow, after Vinod, I'm staying away from spies. You know, so.
You still have it that's left a bit of a scar in you, right?
Not really.
Okay,
I mean, funnily, after all these movies have come out, Vinod gets nice, positive sort of comments on YouTube or wherever people see it. So whenever I feel,
But because that's I think a movie that showed people that, oh my God, there is probably very few people that can shoot songs like Sriram Raghavan. I'm not just talking about Rabta, which is that single
Right,
take, but also that Mujra. That's
yeah.
very, very well shot. It really gives you the pleasure of watching a dance performance. Of course, there's all that spy activity
Story,
going
yeah.
on with that, that the bug in the microphone and the
so
channel.
I think the whole credit for the song goes to Saroj Khan ji. She was there, you know, and she was the choreographer. And the other, this Gajra, mein mic and all is my bits. So
That's your stuff. So you're like, you do all that, and I will take
No,
care
I
of
was
this.
fascinated watching her. I mean, the way it's like a institution she was, you know. So it was wonderful just watching how she manages. And plus, yeah, it looks very good.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
like the two women just
Yeah,
surrounded by
yeah,
that
yeah.
thing that came back after a long time. Because I think by now you see that a lot, but at that time when it came, those musical kind of things were different.
Yeah, no,
So-
that film actually. I mean, I still love it. So I love a lot of things in it. So
I haven't visited in a long time. Maybe I
in fact,
should.
I was actually recently there was something here called they take old films and they sort of they release them at least for one show for invitees and people, fans and all that. Then the director normally goes and talks. So I was thinking, we had Johnny Gadda recently, so that about a month, 2 months back. That was like I suddenly met a lot of people who were watching it on the big screen, some for the first time also. So I want to even try Vinod like that. Maybe after, when I'm little bit, out of this film. I'll
Do you
try
have like, would you like to try a different cut or something like that?
Of Vinod.
Or any movie of that?
No, not any movie, but Vinod, in fact, I spent, I think, next 2 movies I spent trying to make it a different cut. Then some point I said, let it be, so. Yeah, but actually what Vinod needed was an extra month where I sit and watch the movie a few times and I know. So the films have to have there's something invisible, something which is threading it together right. No? That doesn't come at first instance. It comes over repeated viewings. Okay, remove this, shift that, do this, the great scene, chuck it out. All that time we didn't have, so.
The pressure on the post-production was very high.
Because the release date was fixed and so you are racing against something.
But you had time on Ikkis?
On Ikkis I had time, and because Ikkis also shot over a period of a year. So now it's all, largely it's all, I didn't have this kind of an issue. We are prepared. Now we are working on sound and all that. But otherwise the picture is ready.
So when you got the news that Dharamji was no longer with us, how did you process it? What was the first feeling that you had?
See, since I was interacting with him in October, we had some dubbing with him. And before that also, he used to keep asking, how's the movie shaping up? When are you going to show it to me? I said, and then he said, before the dubbing, he said, I want to see the film. I said, great, you come and see it tomorrow, it's all ready. And then he said, no, I've got something tomorrow, so I'll see it another day. But let's do the dub anyway. So on the day of the dubbing, he came, he did a little bit. He saw about 50-70% of the film he saw, And he was saying, oh, this, he sort of liked it. And here and there, he used to look at this expression of this profile of mine. Can you cut that? All that he'll try, I said, don't worry and all. And then, but that time he was a little, I could see he was having a tough time dubbing and kind of thing. I said, okay, like, get better soon. That was October. So then I thought, we had finished our work with him and I said, in another month, I'll show you the film properly on screen. So don't watch the rest now, watch it when you're feeling better. And so when it didn't, that's a big regret because he was really, looking forward to the film. And it's like, R.D. Burman, when 1942 happened, he was not there to, get the accolades, so.
Yeah, that's I guess that's the mixed feeling, and I think he was also such in a way, an undervalued star because of all the actors, there are these stars that are forever stars. They kind of they're not identified or picked out for any one thing. Of course, in the 80s, he became this kutte kamine mein khoon pee jaunga type of thing towards a little bit. Even then, he was doing some fantastic films with J.P. Datta. But you're like, but he's done so many kinds of films that I think it became difficult to slot him in anything. And that's why I don't think many people really.
No, that's the problem actually. What happens is that after that, what you said, this B kind of movies. So a lot of today's audiences have not seen his great work. Now when Sholay is releasing, they'll see that's his prime. But yeah, he's he's done too much good work and he's got so much goodwill he's one of the few people in the industry who, I think everybody loves him, and he also loves people back like that. So there is a lot of positive aura around him, and
So you talked about the B movies in the 70s and 80s, right? Let's talk about the 80s a bit because that's when I saw a lot of the films that I started watching. Why do you think that decade gets such a bad rap? Because it's not like every 60s film is some great classic or something. It's not like every 70s film is some great classic or something like that. But they single out things. The 80s had Rahul Ravel making good films. It had J.P. Datta. Had like a lot of people. There was like, there was also there was a lot of stuff happening in the 80s, right? Yes, of course, there was a certain movement towards a very massy kind of the B movie, whatever it is. But it's not like every other generation had. But the 80s get this rap that, oh my God, Hindi cinema was in this pit and hole, and until QSQT came and rescued everything, it just was like this big dark hole. Why do you think that?
No, it wasn't like that. I think what happened in the late 80s was VHS had come in. So VHS actually definitely screwed up the business a lot simply because of piracy and that went on for a while.
Came
so
mid 80s?
no, late 80s actually.
Late 80s,
I mean, it
okay.
became late 80s, and after that, I mean, and that did dent. I mean, so the people who were making sort of they didn't know what to make because the films were not running. People are going to watch it at home, and so it's all. So the movies that were working started becoming the B and C kind of movies. They are the ones which they got a free hand, sort of, So that may be the large reason, but I've not studied it in that manner. But I remember when when Ikkis released, on the first day I got a call from my cousin, sister-in-law in Delhi. She said, I watched the movie, it's lovely. I said, which hall did you watch it? No, we watched it at home. So it's like, I said, yeah, you were telling me you watched it at home. Then Badlapur, one Panwar said, I've seen you somewhere. I was buying something and he said, I said, yeah, Badlapur. He said, good movie, I saw it. Where do you see it? Here, in this tapri, he saw it on his phone or whatever. So, I mean, but nowadays you feel happy that people watch. So,
Yeah.
where you watch, how you watch is fine.
I have this theory that it's because the heroes like Mithun and Govinda ruled the 80s, that there was not one iconic thing that people could attach themselves to. So I think that's why the people that write about movies typically dismiss the 80s films. But there are bad films, sure, but there are also nice entertainers.
Of course, I would always argue for there were at least 2 or 3 superb films even in every year. Actually.
Yeah, because the flip side is like when you like a lot of people today might not even enjoy some of the Shammi Kapoor movie of the 60s or something because they're practically plotless films. Like the Rock Hudson movies or whatever.
Yeah. So, but that's the charm, I guess. 5 songs and some little fun and games.
Would you make something like that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know it's very difficult to say. It's suddenly you feel okay. Why not? Like La La Land was a beautiful movie, and I don't know who. I loved it so much that. But I think when I was doing Andhadhun, sort of that love crept in somewhere. So
nice. So I look forward to Ikkis. Being like I said, just to see what Sriram's done in this genre. And thank you so much for your time and all the best for the film.
Thank you. And it was great fun talking to you. We also usually have fun talking. So
no, you know what? I think I with others, you have a very specific pattern, right? But because of course I kind of know you by now because you chatted a bunch of times, but also because it's just film, right? So it's always fun to kind of catch up about what cinema is. So thank you so much. And I think you should put out a list of war films.
I'll do that and send you also. I've got quite a nice.
I think generally for people these are some nice war films. Put it on Insta or something like that.
I'll do that.
Thanks, Shyam.
Chalo.
Mritu towels from Ramraj, premium cotton and bamboo towels. Super soft, super absorbent.
டார்லிங் சோலார் 20,500 முன்பணத்தில் இப்பொழுது சோலார் மூலம் இலவச மின்சாரம்.
மிஸ்டர் கோல்ட் கடலை தான் வாங்குறேன். ஏன் தெரியுமா? சாதாரண ஆயிலை விட சமையல் டேஸ்டாவும் இருக்கும், ஹெல்தியாவும் இருக்கும்.